This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 4 of Effective Copywriting, your final week in the writing class. I know you're all doing happy dances of joy because it's almost over, but we still have some things we need to wrap up this week, including the Mastery Journal piece that we're writing and the research paper that we're writing. But first, I want to talk a little bit about other things you can do with your copywriting skills. There's a whole new world out there. With new media, and there's so much content that needs to be developed for all these new media streams that we have with the web and mobile apps, and even things like Netflix and Hulu. They need content writers too. Television is changing. I've spent so many years working in television. I can tell you that it's been turned upside down. So there's a whole lot of opportunities out there. So, as a writer of content for any interactive media, it's just like understanding your target audience and who you're writing for. So, there's a variety of techniques that you should be aware of. So, if it's going to be mostly read, then you're doing writing that's like journalism or copywriting for print. If it's meant to be heard, which a lot of times you could be asked to write narration for maybe a slide presentation, or write copy for a television commercial or a radio commercial or some sort of narration. So that's only heard. So when you're writing to be heard, you have to be very descriptive and paint pictures with your words because there's nothing in front of them. Then there's writing to be seen. So these could be public service announcements, TV spots, films, video presentations, YouTube videos. So a lot of people need writers. So once you get through this class and you finish up your degree, don't forget about the writing skills that you picked up this month because you can make money with them. For example, with content marketing, this includes things like writing for blogs for people, writing articles for maybe their website or their online e-news blast. Maybe it's doing interviews, writing copy briefs or creative briefs, or getting someone ready with notes for a speech they're going to make. You could be writing scripts for radio, TV, video presentations, and the biggest one is content marketing for social media. Not everybody is doing their own social media. They're hiring people to do it. So with your writing skills, you now can apply for jobs in content marketing. But with any type of writing, you always have to be aware of good grammar. So always spell check, and punctuation also counts when we're doing our grammar checks. So I always say write everything, use Grammarly, turn it on, write everything in Word, double check it, run the spelling and grammar check, because the last thing you want to do is hand a client an ad with a typo on it or send copy along for their website with typos in it, because you won't get the job, and it'll be the first thing they do is just like stop talking to you. So you always want to make sure that the little minutia details like grammar are correct. So with any type of writing, you also want to be concise. You don't want to be too flowery with your writing. You don't want to be too wordy. You want to be concise and to the point. People have very limited spans of attention now. So the more concise you can be, the better it is. So we created a cohesively branded ad campaign for a nonprofit using magazine testimonial ads. And the whole part of a cohesively branded campaign is continuity. And continuity runs through all of the media channels for a client. So it's the way the voice and the tone of the brand sound, whether it's the receptionist answering the phone, or it's the direct mail piece they're sending out, or it's the, you know, about page of their website. You want to have continuity. Get in the habit of writing active sentences and lose words like will be. The ad will be. It is. Just say what it's going to be. So be active, not passive. And Microsoft Word, you can actually check off the box to check for passive voice as you're writing. And be creative every time. Don't just go with the obvious, like make a difference. There's so much more you can do with words. Okay, so let's talk about web writing specifically. So when you're writing web content, it's a completely different medium than writing for print or writing for video or writing for social media. Web copy, people are usually looking for information. So they're scanning it, they're glancing at it, they're not usually reading it word for word unless your copy is so engaging they can't help themselves. So you want to write your copy in this what's called an inverted pyramid. So you want to think about how you're going to give the most important information first and then go down with the information in terms of importance down the page. So make sure that whatever you're trying to sell or educate or promote on the web, that you use the inverted writing style so that a visitor to your site always knows what they're looking for and they can find it right away. So here's 7 tips for writing copy that will actually help you. So your website visitors are looking for specifics. Maybe they're looking for, the dimensions of a purse that you're selling online, or maybe they're looking for who this nonprofit organization serves. They're coming to the website to get specific information, so make sure you give it to them. Again, the inverted pyramid, most important information first. That's what people are looking for, is that information. Don't be overly creative or obtuse. Not everybody can pull in a third meaning, to quote Roland Barthes. Be concise, be clear, and make sure everything that a consumer might ask is already answered in your copy. So keep it simple. People don't read websites, they scan them. So write for a reader who scans. So make sure the headline of that web page is communicating through its headline what that page is about. Does the image work with the copy and create that sales message? Do your subheads kind of summarize your key points? Are you using easy to scan bullet points? Those always help reduce wordiness. So think about using bullet points. And again, don't overwrite. Use familiar words. Keep the academic tone for your academic papers. But with websites, you're usually trying to sell something or get somebody involved in something. So keep it short and simple. Short paragraphs mean no more than 4 sentences. Short sentences, that means 12 words or less. The key to avoiding a long sentence is to read it aloud. And if you have to gasp for breath before the sentence is finished, then it's too long. So you need to cut it back. You want to skip those unnecessary words. So that's a good way to cut back on the sentence length. Avoid jargon, because nobody likes to be sold to. Avoid that passive voice. Repetition. If you're saying something, you don't have to say it 3 different ways. Just be concise in what you're saying. And it's good to use the word you, because you're basically having a conversation with your consumers. Okay, so number 7 is you don't control where they go. So people could jump in the middle of your website accidentally, or maybe they clicked the wrong link and ended up on the donate page, and they meant to go on the about page. So you've got to make sure that every page lets the consumer know where they are and what the site is about. So make sure that it's easy to scan, so if they're on the wrong page, they can find their way to the right page. So that architecture is really important. Each page should clarify what that site is about, and it should have a good call to action. So if, like, you're doing a new website for a nonprofit organization, that donate page is really important. So it should show up in your title bar at the top, that every time they go to a different page, they can access that donate page, because at any moment they're reading your copy, they might be overwhelmed with the thought that they have to donate right now. So make it easy for people to find your website. You want to lure those customers to your website. So that goes back to that whole idea of continuity and the voice of the brand and how you're saying things the same way all the time. If people hear about your website or they hear about your product, when they get to the website, it doesn't look like something else. It fits in with the brand. Make sure that you're answering questions before they're asked. So it's always good to test your copy, family, friends, test it out, see what kind of questions they may have, and then always go back and revise your copy. You want to keep it to 1 key topic per page, because they don't want to sit there and read things. Remember, they scan. So if you make your links relevant pages easy to find, then you'll be in good shape. Okay? So be clear, be specific, and be bold. Remember that there's extra resources out there for you, like Writing for the Web on lynda.com. And there's a great chapter in Felton called Interactive Advertising and Social Media. So try that out too. All right. So this week we're finishing up our research paper about the campaign that we're creating for our nonprofit organizations. And I kind of framed the research paper with sort of a fake purpose, as if it's preparing you to go in and pitch your client. I mean, you're writing an academic paper, so you're not going to go in and pitch a client with academic jargon. But with the APA paper, you have to write in an academic tone. But what it's doing is it's organizing all of your research and all of your findings and all of your design decisions into one document. So I want you to think about this as you're going in to present to a client. You want to make sure of a couple of things. First, you want to be confident. So when you go in that room, know your research. It's the most important thing, because if you fake it, they're going to know you're faking it. They're going to ask you some harebrained question that if you haven't done your homework, you're not going to be able to answer it and you're not going to get the job. So know those answers to questions because you asked them during the client meeting or you found out specifics during the research. So know your research and have it ready. Know who's in the room before you get there. So if you are making the appointment, just ask who's going to be there. Is it going to be for a nonprofit? It could be the president of the nonprofit, the director of communications, maybe the vice president of development. So understanding who might be in the room can make you more confident because you can forge a connection with them. You won't be presenting to the wrong person. So if you can, search their website, find out about them, go to LinkedIn, find out who's going to be in the room. Then you want to make sure your pitch has some structure to it. So what you're going to do first is share your insights and what you've learned from the research. Then using that research, you're going to explain the conclusion on the insights that you gained from doing this research. Then you can launch into what the concept is. You know, with the nonprofit organizations, you were either raising money or raising awareness or maybe doing an event. So that's the concept that you're selling. So how does your concept put butts in the seats if it's an event, raise money for the organization, get people to use the services of the nonprofit? How does your concept communicate that? So then you want to talk about how that concept is going to be conveyed. That's where you talk about the media plan. Again, you're doing magazine print ads, but while you have them with their attention focused on you in a closed room, you might as well pitch some other ideas to them that they may go, oh, you know what, that is a good idea. Maybe we'll hire you to do that too. So you end up making more money and you help the client out. Then you want to make sure you're revealing the benefit. This is why we're executing the concept in this way, because, and you use your research to back it up, this is what we found out about the target audience. The concept is being revealed in this way because we want to raise money, and to talk to, 25 to 40-year-olds, you need to do it in this tone of voice. You need to use this type of imagery. State the takeaway. If they hire you as a result of you being able to do this campaign, they will raise more money. They will raise more awareness. They will get people to come to the event. Then reiterate that goal of the campaign, which kind of works with the takeaway. You will raise money, you will raise awareness, or you will put butts in the seats, as I like to say. Okay. Let's talk about the assignments specifically. So the research paper, which I'm really hoping you started last week, because I went over it last week and it's been open since last week. You're going to do an introduction. The exact word count is on the website, so make sure each section meets the word count that I put there, and answer these 3 bullet points. What nonprofit organization is the subject of your paper? What's the problem statement? What is it that you're being asked to solve? Basically, it's raise awareness or raise money or raise people to get their butts in the seats. So then state your thesis. And I told you last week that on the assignment in week 3, there's a sample thesis statement to help you construct your own. So that thesis statement is really important. It's going to direct the backbone of your research paper. It's the claim that you are making, that argument that you're going to be proving throughout the paper. So that's your introduction. That starts on page 3. Page 1 is the title page. Remember, use your APA template in Microsoft Word and just delete things like the table of contents and the footnotes at the end. Use the title page. Page 2 is your abstract. And page 3 is where your introduction will start. Remember that it's got to have the running head on it with the page number, and the title of the paper should be the first thing on page 3 centered. Then launch into your body of the paper. So with the body of the paper, you're talking about the actual company. Talk about their history. Who are they? Where did they start? Why did they start? What's their origin story? Tell that. Then talk about differentiation. What is it that separates your animal charity from all the others out there? Then talk about the specific target audience. Remember, you did this research in week 2 with the personas, so that's already done. Describe the voice and tone of the campaign that you're creating these concepts for. In what ways will the voice and tone speak to the nonprofit's target audience? Remember, you did research on voice and tone in week 1. Then the last part of this part of the body of the paper is why this project is important. Again, that's circling back to your thesis statement. There's the problem, and here's the solution. Now in this part, the second half of the body, you're getting down into the details that you're actually basically selling the client on your ideas for the campaign. So you need to be thorough with the design solution. You're going to talk about your media plan. We all know you're doing magazine print ads, but what else can you do to help this organization raise money or raise awareness? And talk about why. That's where the target audience plays in. If you have a younger demographic, they're not really reading, maybe watching PBS, so doing public service announcements isn't going to address a younger audience. But they are watching a lot of YouTube. So can you construct a YouTube channel for your nonprofit? So think about how your target audience ingests media and construct your media plan around that and explain why that would work. You want to be specific. So you want to refer to the research about your target audience. Then you want to get into exactly what you are designing. So we've already designed a cohesively branded 3-ad campaign for magazines. So talk about how you came up with the concepts, what type of testimonials they are, quote from the Felton text for that. Talk about the color scheme, the typography that you're choosing. There are, I showed you last week in the About section of FSO, there's a ton of resources. One of them is research for your research paper, and it's got some links to colormatters.com and some typography research. You must use research to back up any claims you're making about the design solution that you are pitching. Okay? And then you're going to write your conclusion. Your conclusion basically wraps up the paper. So that's on all these instructions are on the platform. So make sure you're writing your conclusion and bringing it full circle. Circle back to that thesis statement. Restate it. Don't copy and paste it, but restate it in terms of how you solve this argument that you are constructing throughout this paper. Then the last page is going to be your references page in proper APA style, which you should know by now what it is because you've done 4 papers up to this point. So with this paper, you need 5 to 8 secondary sources. Remember, you've done research on target audience, you've done research on voice and tone, you've been reading the Felton book inside and out for the last 3 weeks. So the About section of your nonprofit organization is where you're going to find their history. So there's 4. Go to the Full Sail Library and find more research. We talked about that last week and how you look at your sources and evaluate them. Okay, the other thing that's due on Sunday is your Mastery Journal post. So let's pull that up real quick on the platform. So this is going to go on your Mastery Journal, and it's basically talking about the process of your concepts and your campaign for your nonprofit. So you can talk about your personas and your ad sketches and explain your 6 concepts, explain your initial comps, explain the revised comps. So make sure you come into this assignment and you're quoting from the textbook, you're quoting from the tutorials, and I need to see that you're quoting in proper APA style for this mastery post. You must include relevant screenshots from this month's project. So as you discuss each one of these items listed 1 through 4, put the pieces actually in there. So stick your personas documents in there. Stick your 6 sketches in there. Stick your 3 initial comps, and then stick your 3 revised comps. And follow the writing prompts that are here. How does the understanding of the target audience direct your campaign messaging? When you're talking about your sketches, you want to specifically discuss the 6 types of testimonials and why you chose them. It's on the Felton book, pages 241 to 246. Remember, you've got to write in an accurate, persuasive, and highly compelling way because you're basically practicing for like a pitch for a client in the future, for example. So understanding your process. When you're interviewing for a job, they're going to want to know how you came up with this design solution. So being able to discuss your process is hugely important. And by discussing your process, I don't mean I chose Helvetica because it's a sans serif typeface. I mean you are talking about the research and how that led to the design solution that you created. So remember your critical thinking skills. That's what's used here is your critical thinking skills that talk about how the research informed your answers to these questions. Then the last thing you're going to do after you do your 3 revised comps and discuss how you created that unique, cohesively branded campaign. Remember, you're touching on those touch points of innovation and synthesizing. So make sure the research is synthesized and you're doing all that. You want to list 3 takeaways from what you learned this month. So what out of the entire course are the 3 things that you're going to take away and why? That's kind of talking about the acquired competencies that you took away from the class. You're going to post this reflection in your mastery journal with the link. Make sure it works. And then you're going to go in, and when your classmates have posted theirs, go in and check out their Mastery Journal posts and give some feedback on them. You know, it's really good that you guys interact. You guys haven't looked at each other's work. The community discussion board has been available for you to use all month to share your work, but it wasn't required. But with the Mastery Journal, you should share amongst yourselves. You should all be following yourselves and be tight and a really cohesive community of artists. Okay, so that's what's due this week is your Mastery Journal. That's why I said I really hope you guys started your paper last week. You must have everything in by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. because your next class starts on Monday, March 1st. So I need everything on March 3rd because your next class starts on Monday, and you cannot go into design research unless you finished effective copywriting. So if I don't have your work by Sunday, you're going to be immediately rescheduled back into the class. So make sure you're getting all your work in by Sunday, okay? And I want to thank each and every one of you for working so hard. I know there's been some challenges with some of you this month, and I hope I've been accommodating and helped you along, and that you're well on the way to understanding time management and how things operate and how fast this crazy journey is, because it's only going to get a little bit more complicated as you move through the next few months. So once you move forward, don't forget that I'm still here. Just because you're not in my class doesn't mean I'm not available to you. I'll see you again in month 12, but if you need me between months 5 and 12, just reach out to me. I'm here for you, okay? Thanks so much, and if you're watching this on the archive and you have any questions about anything I covered while I was going through it, just shoot me an email through the platform, call me on the phone during office hours, set up a one-on-one go-to meeting. I'm here to help you guys be successful. Okay, thanks.